Well, I am a big supporter of transparency. I think that people need to know in terms of what their government is doing. Now, I know we run into this whole thing about privacy. I recognize that, especially from a medical standpoint, and also from some companies that who do business in more than one area. For instance, you have a company that's involved in insurance, and they're also involved in and maybe in terms of providing health care. I mean, there's a lot of this going on where there's no wall between. But the point is that I think that there's ways that we can structure that also will allow us to have the transparency that's needed. I really feel that people need to know what government is doing. And we need to get that information out. And of course, if people know what government is doing, I think that their response would be very, very different. Sometimes we operate in the dark and people don't know what's going on. And if we want to be able to compete with other countries, and that's what it's about, it's not neighborhood against neighborhood. You know, it's countries against country. And if we want to be involved in terms of trade, and we have to make certain that we have people all excited and prepared and ready, you to know what's going on when it comes to trade and to be able to avail themselves, of it. We can no longer block out and be involved in protectionism if we want to be that strong country that we would like to be. And then we have to open our markets, be able to trade, be able to compete. And the way you compete is to have open government, let people know what's going on. And that way, I think that we'd be able to compete with anybody, anywhere, any place, anytime, because protectionism is just not the way to go. Yeah. Well, actually, the Government Oversight Committee has jurisdiction over all federal agencies. We can look into any federal agency, FBI and CIA. I mean, we look at all of them. And of course, we do a lot of work with the other committees in terms of the authorizing committees by doing research and by getting people in to talk to us. We have subpoena power, so we can reach out and bring people in and have a discussion with them about whatever the issue is. For instance, right now, everybody's focusing on BP. We're focusing on MMS, which is the government agency that has the oversight responsibility of BP. We're saying that is this agency structured properly to be able to oversee the industry? Should we separate certain things out? For instance, you have the collection part, and then you have the oversight part in terms of the responsibility for seeing that it's run properly, seeing that they're doing what's properly, the permits and all of that. Well, maybe this needs to be divided. And the other thing, which is I find really troubling, is that how some people will work for the agency in the morning and the industry at night. What I mean by that, they will go in to talk maybe at lunch to the industry and negotiate a job and leave the agency and then go to the job. That to me is just too much coziness. Too much, seems like a little hanky-panky. Even when you leave the Congress, you have to stay out a certain amount of time before you can come back and lobby the Congress. So we need to take another look as to how we might be able to create the kind of atmosphere and climate to discourage that kind of behavior. Because as long as you have that, you will always have people, it's like a swinging door, revolving door, that they go out and leave the agency, go into the industry. Then the industry, and then back to the, somewhere along the line, that has to stop that kind of coziness, because you're not going to get the kind of oversight that's really needed during this very difficult day and age. And people will begin to look in the other direction rather than looking in the direction to be able to make a decision as to what's good for the country. Well, pharmaceutical companies, we've found some really ugly and distasteful things that have gone on there. They've had medicine on the shelves that were not doing what they were supposed to do. And they've been guilty of not having a recall, but they will hire people to go out and buy up all the medicines on the shelf because they don't want to use the term recall. Now the FDA cannot have a recall. The agency of the pharmaceutical company will have to have the recall. So now we're trying to arrange for FDA. They have the power to have a recall because if medication is on the market, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, and then the pharmaceutical company leaves it out there, then that's not good for, and of course FDA is saying, well, we don't have the power to do anything. So I think that if FDA is going to function, it has to have the power to be involved in terms of making a recall, saying that if you know something's not doing what it's supposed to do, they can say, hey, take it off the shelf. So we're working, with that. We're also looking at safety in automobiles. We had the CEO of Toyota in to talk to us about the safety in terms of their cars. And as you know, you talk to them 1 week, it's one thing, next week it's another. And so we're saying, what's really going on? So we're now digging at that. We've had staff people to go and to look and to see what's going on. That is a very serious issue for us. Because safety is something that we just cannot ignore. So we're working very hard, on that as well. And of course, we're looking at the military budget because there's not a lot of transparency there. And we're looking to see in terms of waste, fraud, and abuse, and may I add, stupidity. So we're looking at that. That's yeah, we're looking at those things to try and clean up and to make certain that in some instances we're getting information that people are not being treated fairly. And so we're looking at that as well.